This is quite a quick and easy adjustment just to add a little bit more ease into the arm side of a top, and I find it works really well where a top feels a little bit tight under the armhole, just to make it a bit more comfortable and add a little bit more room there. And you only need to adjust 3 pattern pieces: the back bodice piece and the front bodice piece and the sleeve piece. And I've traced the sleeve piece out here, as you can see, but I haven't cut it out yet because I'll need to add a little bit more onto this one, and I'll show you what I do. So the first adjustment I've made is to the back bodice piece, and I'll zoom in so you can see what I've done. So here's the armhole of the back bodice, and what I've done is added on this new pink line that dips down further to add a bit more room into this armhole. And I've made an adjustment to bring it down by 1 centimetre, but you could make it a little bit sort of larger if you wanted to, or a little bit smaller depending how much ease you want. So I've reduced down by 1 centimetre, and I've made sure that the 1 centimetre measurement carries on in to the point where the seam allowance is, because that's the point you'll be sewing at, so that's the point you want the full 1 centimetre measurement to be at. And then I've curved it back round to give a nice curved armhole that just adds a little bit more room at the bottom. So I'm going to be cutting off this bit just so I've got the extra room here. And I've done the same adjustment on the front bodice, which I'll show you here. So here's the front bodice, and again, as you can see, I've got a pink line, this nice curve round on the armhole, and a 1 centimetre depth here along to the point of the seam allowance, just so that gives a nice extra little room, and you'll get the full 1 centimetre when you sew it at this point. And I'm going to cut that one off too. So those are the 2 adjustments I've made to the front and back bodice, and as I mentioned, I've gone for 1 centimetre, which I find often gives a nice little extra bit of room, but you could adjust that measurement if you wanted. So now I've made an adjustment to the front and back bodice to add a little bit more room to the armhole. I now need to make an adjustment to the sleeve piece to make it slightly larger so it fits with a slightly widened armhole. So as you can see, I've adjusted each side of the sleeve piece to make that corresponding adjustment. And I mentioned that I'd traced the sleeve piece but not cut it out, and that is because I did need to make the sleeve piece slightly larger at each side, so it's easier to make that adjustment before I cut it out and have to add a little bit more tracing paper on, just to make it a bit easier, but you can add it on afterwards if you have already cut your sleeve piece out. But I'll zoom in to show you the adjustment I've made. So I've made the corresponding adjustment, instead of decreasing the size of the sleeve piece, I've added on this extra little sliver here, just so it will match up with the wider armhole, and I've made it 1 centimetre wide to correspond to the adjustment I made on the front and back bodice. And as with the front and back bodice, I've brought the adjustment down, so the 1 centimetre tallies across to where the seam will be sewn. And I've tapered it down just to sort of be back in line with the sleeve side seam here. And I've made the same adjustment on the other side, a 1 centimetre increase that comes down to the point where the seam will be sewn, and then tapering in. So I'm going to cut this sleeve piece out just with a slightly wider pattern piece at the front top, so it does fit in with the back bodice and front bodice increases I've made to make the armhole slightly wider. So now I've adjusted the back and front bodices to cut off the little adjustment I made to deepen the armhole and add a bit more ease to stop it feeling tight under the armpit to give a slightly wider armscye. So that was nice and simple, just to cut those 2 pieces off, and I'll move across so you can see what the sleeve piece looks like too. I've cut the sleeve piece out now, and it's got the extra room added here to correspond with the extra room created in the back and front bodice pieces. So here are the 3 final adjusted pattern pieces, and these are now all ready to go and use to cut out your fabric and sew up your garment. So as you can see, it's quite a quick and easy adjustment to make, just 3 pattern pieces to adjust, and it's really effective in adding a bit more room under the arm and just making your garment a little bit more comfortable where it can sometimes come up a little bit tight. So I hope you found this little mini tutorial helpful, and you'll be able to make this adjustment on garments where you found it a bit tight under the armhole too. I think it's fairly straightforward, and I hope you'll be able to follow it at home and find it really useful.